Across the Thunder Bay area, Remembrance Day ceremonies are held to salute our veterans and those who continue to serve this country. Good evening, I'm Ryan Panazzo. Thank you for joining us. We begin our Remembrance Day coverage with a ceremony at Fort William Gardens that saw veterans, active military personnel, and grateful community members honor those who put their lives on the line for our country. Jessica Clement was there and brings us the story.
The annual Remembrance Day ceremony at Fort William Gardens gave residents the chance to pause, reflect, and honor those who served. Around 1,000 people came out for the ceremony, where community members and local groups laid wreaths in honor of the Canadians who served and sacrificed in armed conflicts. This year's keynote speaker was Father Andriy Stetsik, a priest at the Ukrainian Holy Cross Church. His speech focused on not just remembering those who served in past wars, but also those fighting in ongoing conflicts.
We are experiencing right now the war in Ukraine. And I think people need to remember this. And moreover, the children should know about this. It's not something new in Ukrainian history, because actually our first generations which came actually to Canada, it's also because of war.
Organizer Ken Milenko says the current conflict in Ukraine is why he invited Stetsik to speak at the ceremony.
What they're going through in Ukraine is it's the same thing as what everybody went through in World War I and World War II and Korea and any conflict. It's devastating. But to have someone actually hear from the very current conflict is very touching and very emotional. So I'm so happy he was able to help us out.
Milenko believes Remembrance Day ceremonies become perhaps more important every year to ensure the sacrifice of an older generation of veterans isn't lost to history.
World War II veterans are getting few and far between. Unfortunately, I can't find any Korean veterans either. There are some there, but they get few and far between. But like I mentioned earlier with the Ukraine, there's always conflicts, so and it goes on. But it's still, the day is important.
The ceremony was one of many at Thunder Bay with the same message. Remembrance lives in every story and moment of reflection. This helps ensure that those who served and those who still serve are never forgotten. Jessica Clement, TBT News.
There was also a ceremony outside at Waverly Park. Hundreds of people gathered there to pay their respects to those who've served. As Max Silverstein tells us, many are not only reflecting on the past, but pledging to continue to honor those who fight for our freedom moving forward.
Gathered near the Waverly Park cenotaph, hundreds paid tribute to Canada's former and current military members, and those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Wreaths were laid, and a moment of silence observed at 11 a.m., marking the moment of the armistice of 1918 that ended World War I. Veteran Robert W. Johnson, who is now 90 years old, enlisted just as the Korean War ended and spent 38 years in the military.
It does my heart good to see people turn out still after all these years of the end of the war.
The day was an emotional one, with some lingering in quiet conversation and others standing silently in thought as poppies surrounded the wreaths that lay at the base of the cenotaph. Branch 5 Legion Vice President George Romick says it's great to see.
For the hour or the hour and a half, we have to stand out in beautiful weather today on that, compared to what the soldiers, sailors and airmen put up for 4 or 5 years during World War I and World War II. So it's the least we can do.
It's an emotional day for me, and many of us have had family members who have served and know that that no act of service for this country has been too small when you're serving in our military.
Here at Waverly Park, the message was clear. Remembrance Day isn't just about looking back. It's about carrying those messages forward into the future. As the last notes of the trumpet fade and the poppies begin to fall, the promise remains to never forget. Max Silverstein, TBT News.
And just outside the city on Mount McKay, Fort William First Nation held its Remembrance Day ceremony at the Anemki-Waju Cenotaph to honor both Indigenous and non-Indigenous service members. Joey Langdon was there.
Overlooking both Fort William First Nation and the city of Thunder Bay, people gathered at Anemki-Waju Cenotaph to honor Indigenous and non-Indigenous veterans alike with song and prayer, and to lay wreaths to memorialize friends and loved ones. Catherine Banning served as the Master of Ceremonies.
Bindigin ni Tajikewan and Anemki-Waju, which means welcome to my traditional lands of Fort William First Nation, welcome to my stomping grounds, welcome to our playground. It is an honor for us to remember and memorialize our First Nation veterans on their homeland.
She also adds that it's incredibly important to have a service like this on First Nations land.
We didn't always get to practice our culture and traditions in the past, and so we try to incorporate in the Indigenous values and cultures and traditions along with the military cultures and traditions on our land, which is ni Tajikewan.
Ceremonial songs were performed throughout the service. Alan Wembagwan says each of them was selected carefully and intentionally.
And then for the last song that I sang, that's what we know today as a traveling song. And just the origins of that song, it comes from the late Alex Skeed of Wajishkanigam. So for that song, I was told that he was very ill. He was laying in his hospital bed in Kenora, and then this song came to him. It was like a dream and a vision, but basically the words in that song, it has a kind of medicine in it that will grant you safe passage to wherever that destination may be.
Joey Langdon, TBT News.
And in other news today, construction season is wrapping up soon as city crews race against the clock before the ground freezes. With the Cumberland Street roundabout now done, Simpson and High Streets are the next big priorities. The base lift paving on Simpson has finished and the street lights are on, but drivers are still advised to avoid the street for now as crews finish up ramping the Victoria Avenue intersection. That should be done by the end of the week. Meanwhile, on High Street, base and top lift from River to Tupper Street are finished. Senior project engineer Brian Newman hopes that work will be done by Friday as well.
And they're talking about paving base lift on the hill portion between Tupper and Van Norman on, I'm thinking Wednesday. But it should be all paved up by next week at this time, and hopefully, fingers crossed, open as well. So it's been a long time coming, but for the most part, that project's 100%. It's just the hill part that we put a sidewalk work left to do next year in top lift paving. But it was a big project, a lot of deep excavations, hard material to dig, and lots of rocks.
Ontario could be in for a very tough flu season. That prediction from health officials is based on early season statistics in this province and what's being seen in Australia, which is often an indicator of what's to come for our part of the world. CTV's Pauline Chan explains.
Canadian experts are saying the message from down under is get your flu shots now.
They had a very, very bad year, one of the worst years on record. And the reason that occurs is a combination of factors that we don't completely understand, but it does have to do with how many people are unvaccinated and it's susceptible, and the specific strain of flu that's circulating that year. And just as a reminder, you're not protected for this year's strain from last year's vaccination.
The Australian data published in September showed that this season, the flu vaccine reduced the risk of hospitalization by half.
Dr. Jerome Lee says each year Canada sees 15 to 20,000 hospitalizations for influenza and 3 to 4,000 deaths.
They had their lowest vaccine rates in Australia for like the past 5 years. So again, that's not a coincidence. If you underachieve in vaccination, you have a tougher season, and in particular, you see more hospitalizations and deaths.
He says Sunnybrook and other Ontario hospitals are already seeing a jump in flu cases a good 2 weeks earlier than usual.
The challenge here is that if flu season's already upon us, and especially if it comes a month earlier, we will be less prepared, and there could be significant impacts to the healthcare system. It takes 14 days for the flu vaccine to take full effect. We really don't have much time to get vaccines into arms.
Everyone over age 6 months is encouraged to get their free flu shot, and high-dose flu shots are available for seniors. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
If you're looking to paint the town red, blood red that is, then Cambrian Players is the place for you. A batty new comedy hits the stage this week. Dracula, a Comedy of Terrors, is a fresh take on the classic tale that you can really sink your teeth into. Jaden Billick has the preview for us.
Drink up! And if anyone is interested in my other daughter, Mina, all offers will be considered.
Cambrian Players is putting a playful spin on a familiar story with its latest production of Dracula, a Comedy of Terrors. Director Miranda Dumas says the new production blends classic vampire lore with fast-paced comedy, slapstick moments, and over-the-top characters.
Joke after joke, punchline after punchline, goofy character after goofy character. Things are mixed around. There's a lot of fun gender play. It still has a little bit of that spooky, scary element to it, but it's not at all a horror show.
Even with the mold and the bugs and the smell.
I'm used to it. I have a timeshare in Florida.
Actor Darian Miskimins plays Dracula and says the cast is absolutely thrilled to bring these energetic characters to life on stage and share the laughter with audiences.
It's taking a lot of the elements of the original Dracula novel. We hit a lot of the same beats. We just hit them from all the way in left field. If you've read Dracula before, you'll see some familiar faces. You'll recognize the general arc of the storyline, but you get to experience it in a whole new way that you would never ever have even begun to imagine before.
The first show premieres at 7:30 on Thursday evening at the Cambrian Players Theatre. Showtimes and tickets are available online. Jaden Billick, TBT News.
And just in time for that performance, Cambrian Players Theatre has taken another big step to improve accessibility with the installation of a new lift. It'll make it a lot easier for people with mobility challenges to access the performance space to enjoy the live theatre. Facilities Director Cheryl Celine says they want a comfortable and welcoming experience for all theatre goers.
Now we're finally physically accessible. Instead of the stairs at the front of our building, we now have an accessible lift on the side of our building that will let those who are more mobility challenged get into the building and out of it. Definitely want to make sure that we thank the Patterson Foundation, the Government of Ontario, and our contractors, Tyler Wade and TK Elevator, for all of the work and funding that we were able to access from them. If it wasn't for folks who've been donating and helping us along the way, we definitely wouldn't have been able to do it.
Celine notes over the past few years, Cambrian Players has been focused on making the theatre as accessible as possible to all customers with pay what you can and 2-for-1 ticket options and sensory inclusive performances. And there are now plans for a barrier-free all-gender washroom on the main floor. Well, can't wait to go see that Dracula play at Cambrian. Haley, I have tickets for that, and looks like it should be a good one. Yeah. Speaking of good ones, I know a lot of people out enjoying the Remembrance Day celebrations today. Really quite picturesque this morning with just that little bit of snowfall and temperatures right about seasonal.
Yeah, exactly seasonal. It was really the best we could ask for on Remembrance Day. It was very peaceful. Winds were very calm. At sometimes they gusted to the southwest, but nothing that was too extreme. And it was later in the afternoon when most of the morning ceremonies had already finished. So for the most part, a really lovely start to the day as well. Our seasonal low of -7 was hit very early on, and then we warmed up to 2 degrees by noon. So when people were out and about, that is truly when it was the nicest time of the day. We did see light snow for most of the day as well, but falling very delicately. So if anything, it was a beautiful day. As for the system that is moving through the region, we do have a very linear system that is dropping in, and there is this secondary cell to the west as well. We saw it move eastward and south as it continued throughout the day. The secondary system built and then has now connected to the first system. We did see like a brief period of a few drier hours in between as those systems passed through, but for the most part, it's been fairly steady throughout the day. Now, what does that look like for most areas in the region? Well, for Red Lake, they did have light snow overnight into the early morning hours. That turned into freezing drizzle by around 9 a.m. And then after that, they've seen light drizzle throughout most of their day into this hour. They're now at 3 degrees, which is their high. They've seen some winds from the west-northwest, fairly gusty at times, but mainly moderate like we saw here in Thunder Bay. We see 3 in Kenora as well. They had overnight drifting snow from those winds, but they've been cloudy for most of the day. In areas like Fort Frances, they've seen some light showers as they're now at their high of 4 degrees. And areas like Sioux Lookout, Dryden, Atikokan still at an above seasonal 2 degrees right now, which is quite lovely for today, but that has seen that transition from light snow into mixed precipitation at times. I know Atikokan was mainly cloudy, but they had 1 hour of each basically, a light flurry and then a little light drizzle. Upsala is where we saw it took a little more time to warm up. Their high is at the freezing mark. They have seen a slight wind chill as well, making it feel like -5. We see the freezing mark in Nipigon and Marathon as well, although they did get to see a high of 1 earlier in the day. We're still seeing some light flurries in areas like Greenstone as they're below the freezing mark at -1 at this hour, and they've seen light snow throughout the day. Wawa is above the freezing mark, same with Sault Ste. Marie. They're both at 1 degree. Sault Ste. Marie actually had a high of 3 earlier, so they've seen a bit of a rain-snow mix throughout the day, now looking more like flurries at this hour. But precipitation is predicted to continue for the next few hours. This evening, we'll see a few more flurries continue as we have, but then it'll change to just a 40% chance of flurries or rain as the night continues. Temperatures should stay fairly consistent. We're at 1 degree right now. Like I mentioned earlier, our high was 2 and our low is 1 tonight. So we're not going to see a lot of shifting. Winds from the west, not too gusty to start after midnight, Ryan. That's when they will start to get a little gustier, but nothing too drastic. And for the most part, we will be warming up for the rest of the week.
Okay, I'd like to hear that. You know, it's not often that we see video coming out of Toronto, coming out of Ottawa, where they are, you know, snowier than we are, but that is certainly the case right now. And